Imagine being a little girl growing up, but you have never once felt what it is like to run, to jump, to play outside with other children. Because since the day you were born, everyone around you has told you that you are very sick, that your body is broken, that you need a wheelchair just to move around, that you need tubes in your stomach just to eat, that you need medicine after medicine just to stay alive. Now imagine spending your entire childhood, your teenage years, and the beginning of your adult life living this way. And then one day, something happens. Something that makes you start to question everything you have ever been told about yourself. And you begin to realize that you were never sick at all. And the person who made you believe you were sick, the person who put you in that wheelchair, the person who gave you all those medicines, the person who took you to all those hospitals and doctors, is the one person in the entire world who was supposed to protect you from all harm. Your own mother. That is exactly what happened to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And this is her story. Before we dive into her story, if you're a fan of strange and unbelievable true stories, this is it. This is your channel. Subscribe so that you never miss a story. In the state of Louisiana, in the United States of America, there was a young woman named Claudine Blanchard, but everyone who knew her called her Dee Dee. Dee Dee was a single mother raising her daughter all alone, and from the outside, she looked like the most loving, the most devoted, and the most selfless mother that anyone had ever seen. People admired her, people praised her, people felt so much sympathy for her because of everything she was going through for her daughter. Her daughter's name was Gypsy Rose Blanchard. When Gypsy was still a very young baby, not even a year old yet, Dee Dee started telling doctors and people around her that something was seriously wrong with her daughter, that she was not developing the way a normal child should. The doctors would run tests, and most of the time they would find nothing alarming. But Dee Dee kept pushing. She kept insisting. She kept going to different hospitals and different doctors until she found someone who would listen to her. As the years went by, Dee Dee's story about Gypsy's health started growing bigger and more complicated. By the time Gypsy was just a small child, Dee Dee was telling everyone that her daughter had leukemia, which is a cancer of the blood. She also said that Gypsy had muscular dystrophy, which is a condition that destroys the muscles and makes the body very weak. She said that Gypsy had epilepsy, which causes terrible seizures. She told people that Gypsy's eyes were so bad that she could barely see anything, that her hearing was failing her, and that even though Gypsy's body was growing, her mind was still that of a 7-year-old child and would never develop beyond that. Doctors believed Dee Dee, hospitals believed Dee Dee, everyone believed Dee Dee. And so Gypsy started receiving treatment for illnesses she never actually had inside her body. She was put in a wheelchair even though her legs were completely fine. She had a feeding tube surgically placed into her stomach, even though she could eat normally. Her head was shaved regularly because Dee Dee told everyone that Gypsy was going through chemotherapy for her cancer, and she was given medicine after medicine after medicine for conditions that simply did not exist. Here is the thing that makes this story almost impossible to believe. Gypsy herself had absolutely no idea that she was not sick. She had grown up her whole life being told over and over that her body was broken, and she believed it. She had never known any other life. The wheelchair, the feeding tube, the medicines, the hospital visits. This was all she had ever known, and it was all completely normal to her because the whole world saw Dee Dee as this incredible and suffering mother who was giving up everything to take care of her sick daughter. People from everywhere wanted to help them. Organizations came to their aid. The Make-A-Wish Foundation granted Gypsy wishes as though she was a terminally ill child. They were taken on free trips to Disney World. People donated money to them regularly, and Habitat for Humanity even built them a brand new house, completely free of charge, because of Gypsy's supposed medical conditions. Dee Dee was celebrated on the news. She was given awards. People called her a hero and an angel of a mother. But behind the closed doors of that house, the truth about Gypsy's life was something very different from what the world was seeing. Dee Dee controlled every single thing about Gypsy's life. What she ate, what she wore, who she could speak to, where she could go. She had convinced every doctor and every person around them that Gypsy's mind was that of a little child, even when Gypsy was already a teenager and then a young woman. This meant that no one took Gypsy seriously. No one ever really listened to what she had to say. No one ever sat down with Gypsy alone and asked her if she was okay. And this is exactly what Dee Dee needed, because if no one listened to Gypsy, Gypsy could never tell anyone what was really happening. But as Gypsy grew older, something started happening inside of her that Dee Dee could not control. Gypsy's mind was developing, and she was starting to notice things. One day, when Dee Dee was not home, Gypsy quietly got up out of her wheelchair and tried to walk. And she could. Her legs worked perfectly. She stood there in that house that had been built for her as a sick child, and she realized that she had been sitting in that wheelchair for no reason at all. That moment changed something in Gypsy forever. She also started secretly using the internet, and what she found during those secret sessions online began to open her eyes to the full horror of what had been done to her. She started reading about her supposed medical conditions, and piece by piece, the story that Dee Dee had built around her entire life started falling apart. It was also on the internet where Gypsy met a young man named Nicholas Gojajon. Nicholas lived far away in the state of Wisconsin, but the two of them started talking, and soon something grew between them. For the first time in her life, Gypsy had someone who spoke to her like she was a real person, someone who listened, someone who actually cared. Gypsy told Nicholas everything. She told him about what her mother had been doing to her since she was a baby. She told him about the wheelchair she didn't need, the medicine she was forced to swallow every day, the feeding tube that had been put into her stomach for no medical reason. She told him about the life that had been stolen from her. Nicholas listened to every word, and that is when the two of them started planning something together. On the night of June 14th, 2015, Nicholas drove all the way from Wisconsin to their home in Missouri. Gypsy had been planning this with him, and she let him in through the back door of the house. And then she went to the bathroom, closed the door, and put her fingers in her ears. Nicholas walked into Dee Dee's bedroom, and he stabbed her multiple times. When everything went silent, Gypsy and Nicholas left the house together, and they drove back to Wisconsin, thinking that they were finally free. But the next morning, something happened that neither of them had expected. Someone posted a message on Dee Dee's Facebook page that said that Dee Dee was dead and that her body could be found in the swamp. People who knew Dee Dee saw the post and immediately called the police. When the police arrived at the house, they found Dee Dee's body in her bedroom. But Gypsy was nowhere to be seen. The search did not take long. The police tracked the Facebook post all the way to Nicholas, and within just a few days, both Gypsy and Nicholas were arrested in Wisconsin. When the full story finally came out, the entire world was stunned. Here was the same young woman that people had seen for years as the sick and fragile child in the wheelchair, now being accused of planning her own mother's murder. People could not make sense of what they were hearing. The truth about what Dee Dee had done came out in full. Medical experts reviewed years and years of Gypsy's files, and they confirmed what had been suspected. Gypsy had never had leukemia. She had never had muscular dystrophy. She had never needed that wheelchair or those feeding tubes. Her mother had been lying to doctors, to to hospitals, to charities, to the entire world, and most painfully to Gypsy herself for her entire life. What Dee Dee had was a condition called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It is a very dark and disturbing condition where a parent or caregiver deliberately makes up or even causes illness in a person under their care, almost always a child, so that they can receive attention, sympathy, and in many cases money from the people around them. Dee Dee had used her own daughter as a tool from the time she was a baby. Nicholas Godejohn was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of ever being released. Gypsy Rose Blanchard pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Then, in December of 2023, after serving about 8 years behind bars, Gypsy Rose Blanchard walked out of prison. The world was watching as she stepped outside, and many people cheered for her. Some called her a survivor, others called her a murderer, and many said she was both at the same time. Today, Gypsy is living her life and trying for the very first time to figure out who she really is without Dee Dee's voice telling her what to think, what to feel, and what to believe about herself. But many questions about this story remain. How did Dee Dee manage to fool so many doctors and hospitals for so many years without a single person stopping to question her? If Gypsy could secretly walk and secretly use the internet, why did no one around them ever notice? Let us know what you think about Gypsy Rose Blanchard in the comments.